I am showing the color difference in this video of the vintage 80s Thoth deck that it comes in a white box and is now lovingly referred to as the Greenie, kind of like a pet name, and the technically vintage 1996 Aleister Crowley Thoth deck, so basically the same deck, just a different version. And this is the regular version, you could say. This is, I believe, on the cards it has the copyright for AGMüller. Yeah, right, on the box as well. This is the this is the Dutch version. Let me show you just properly, right? And then this is the big box. You can see right off the bat, of course, these cards are bigger than the regular version. These days there is a green box readily available. Big cards, large cards, but they are in this kind of color tone. So more gray than green for sure. This is kind of like, well, today it's a collector's item. When they came out, actually, I don't know if it was a printing mistake or if they did it on purpose, give every card a green hue. It's not just the borders that are green, but every card has a green hue. They, whatever the reason was or how that happened, people referred to the cards, to this deck as the icky green cards, because they didn't like that every card was green. And I understand that, to be honest, because even though I like the green hue, you could easily say that it's not a very good tarot deck if if every card is green, right? Because the colors are so symbolic in their meaning, and if every card is green, you know, that's not really true, probably, to how it was meant to be made. Okay, so both of these decks have a strong sentimental value to me. This one was gifted to me, so you know that's always a special thing, nice thing. Even though I have relatively big hands for a woman, the big cards really are harder to shuffle, that's for sure. And you know what, I'm just gonna go through the deck so you can see the let me adjust it again. Yeah, the color difference, because it really is quite apparent that this small deck is very gray and this large deck is very green. Now I know that in the white box greeny Thoth decks, they are not all the same amount of green. Some of them are really dark, really green, and others are actually more like this, but just with a little slight green hue. But here you can really easily see there's none of that going on in here, and I think it's probably closer to the original. Even though I must say I've never seen an original. Even the very first edition of the Thoth actually came out pretty muddy, right? They came out more brown tone. Every card had a brown tone. What I like about the big deck is you can really see it in this card. That's not a trick of the light. This card is very faded and pale, and it's very clear though. It's very sharp. But I really do like the depth that you can see in the coloration here, that the black is actually black, and it's more saturated, but not in the way that When an old deck is being rectified into a new version, they usually crank up the saturation, and that's really not what's happened here, I believe, because it really is quite soft and not grainy or anything of that sort. And I really do like the big artwork because there are a lot of layers and details in this deck. Must say the small cards really are very well done. And I believe, you know, that's just a good travel deck. But you can obviously easily see in every card that this side is much more green. And I hope that will keep the light, because let's face it, we're in Holland and it's 11 in the morning and I'm already losing the light. It just really depends on how the clouds come in front of the sun. Okay, enough rambling about that. See this color difference? First of all, here you can see like even the words are green. This border's exceptionally green, and because there's a green all over the card, it really actually makes the card more blue than purple. And I mean, I like both. I always thought that the Thoth wasn't necessarily a deck for me, but I was intrigued by it. I guess it's just the fact that it wasn't its time with me yet, until I got this deck, and well, it was really beautiful, really. So full of symbolism and so much to learn. I love that. And then after that I got this one, which really made me want to study it even more, because, well, the big cards, and they're so beautiful, they're so magical. I just love that you can really see the detail easily. Here it's much more purple or lilac even, and here it's much more green. It's really just up to your personal preference, isn't it? Look at that difference. I thought I would just make a video about this. Look at that. That is light and clear, and this is dark and deep. Thought I'd make a video because I haven't seen this yet on YouTube. Color comparison between the Greenie and the regular Thoth, which actually, I don't know if it's regular. Maybe it's gray Thoth. And I thought about maybe, but I really don't know. They once decided to make a green Thoth because of the emerald tablets. Is that crazy to think? I don't know, it's just since they are related to the god Thoth, you know, could be. So Lady Frida Harris made this deck. She made these oil paintings, beautiful artwork, so full of esoteric. Not having much luck with my phone, but alright, let's just keep going now. Lady Frida Harris made this deck. She made these oil paintings. And I believe I found online that she once said, advised the people who read with this tarot deck to trim the cards, to trim off the keywords. I don't know how true that is, but it would make sense for the artist to suggest that, right? Because even though she did draw these borders to go with the deck, they do have keywords, and keywords is not a wonderful way to learn tarot, not in my opinion at least. And when you trim these cards, you would, of course, merge yourself more into the artwork alone and not have your eye go to written words and assign meaning to that, if you know what I mean. You can see in this deck the aces don't have a number. And you can see for yourself that the coloration is very different in some cards, actually in most cards. Now this is very green and this is very gray. So I understand a lot of people don't like Aleister Crowley. He was kind of a controversial man. I understand that, but let's face it, he knew his stuff, right? So let's just take the positive, I think. It just doesn't stop me to read his books and use his deck. I do believe that in those days, in order to make yourself heard, you needed to have a good amount of shock value. And we don't really know how true everything is that we heard about that guy, right? I mean, the books that he wrote really are kind of out there. But it's good to read different approaches to tarot, magic, the occult. I didn't realize this was apparently the worst time to make this video. I'm having really a hard time with this. But this is really just mostly about the visual, right? I think the light is still okay. I love this card. I think it's the court cards in the Thoth are very well made and very well explained also in the books that I've read. And it's cool that most of them don't actually have a face. Wow, look at this card. It looks like a completely different card, doesn't it? This card is the reason why I wanted to make this video, because the green one is very blue and the gray one is very purple. Let me know what you think. Which one do you prefer? I almost lost that one. Let me know what you think. All right.